Good afternoon, David.
Afternoon, David. As if we haven't spoken before, but there you are.
Aye, but it was about to be hanging out in the green room for the last couple of hours, right? The programme.
You make it seem as if we just come through the door, sat down, and afternoon, David, how are you?
Anyway, folks, that's the contributions into food banks this month. They went to the Edinburgh Food Project in Midlothian. They went to Food French Facts and a Pennycook Midlothian. And they went to a Midlothian food bank in Dalkeith. So that's the three.
What was the one you were trying to tell me about yesterday on the phone?
We did money to the Edinburgh Food Project before in Granton. You know, David, there's some of them we go back to because they're the most deprived areas.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
But Drumchapel,
yeah.
Well, Granton's very similar. In Midlothian, it made sense. And when I phoned her up, a wee woman was telling us that she knew we were still going, she knew we were still doing it, because she was following us. And she was expecting a call because I was in Midlothian.
Anyway, to you, my dear. There you go. There you are.
I got with emails back and forth with the details and things like that, you know, again.
That's private personal, just
in one of the emails, what I did say is that's it in your account. And I hope it helps your community from our online community. That's how I always word it, David, you know.
Yeah.
Make sure that everybody knows it's no me and you that's doing it. It's your community that's doing it.
That's right.
You know, and that's very important. So, folks, from Coco at the Edinburgh Food Project in the poorest housing estate in Edinburgh, you have her thanks. Okay. Now, I guess we better say hello to a few people, David, before we kick off.
So, yes, right. At top of my screen, I've got John Baxter, Jim Stephen, Jeanette. Gilfillan, yeah, I couldn't make that out. There's
Ginger's the Rafson.
Well, Stephen, Mr. Bankier. Ice Ninja 46. I think it's that.
Margaret.
Weebird. It's not a name that springs to mind all the time, but I have seen it before.
Margaret every single program, David, I can assure you.
Yeah. Margaret Hitchin and Millen McCain. Moved down a bit.
Hi, Nathan. Nathan McAllister's in, last Braveheart's in. Numbers are climbing nicely, they're up over the 80 mark.
Yeah.
So, doing well. Oh, actually, it's only 55, it's my eyes. You know, what's needed here is to get rid of these ones and get the stronger set.
Yeah. Ginger is there. She says, Eddie Wolfie, at least it isn't as hot today in the USA.
Well, it's bloody hot here today.
Well,
22
degrees. Mark McLagan and Alex Adam.
Aye, I see Alistair's in. Eddie's in. Right, guess we better get this underway, shall we?
Spanner McTavish. Oh, it's wonderful. I love that name. Spanner McTavish. What's your name? Spanner McTavish. There you go. Wonderful.
David, you like the Spanner back? Because I'm forever calling you one.
Rosie McGregor.
Hi, Rosie, how are you?
Some lovely names that they think up. It really is, honestly.
Oh, some crackers.
I'd love to know where Ginger's Giraffes got hers from. Because obviously that isn't a real name, right?
She's in here. I've met her.
Of course, you've been across there. Right.
Right, let's go on, shall we?
Yeah, please go on.
Ross Greer throws his hat into the Green Party election campaign to become the co-leader.
As we thought he would.
Yes, we both speculated on it and we thought he would. I think it's a good move. I really think
he would make a cracking leader for the Greens.
I think
so. Ross has come out with some real good, deep comments in the past weeks.
For such a young man, he's been a politician for quite a long time, David.
Very intelligent.
Very
intelligent lad.
He most certainly is the sort of person we would like in government, actually.
Yeah.
So
Sorry,
hopefully,
guys. Just well, I was on finishing up there. David spoke. If I missed your name, I apologise. But just I thank each one of you for attending, coming in. All right.
aye.
So
Now,
sorry, Ross Greer. Right.
anyway, when he announces his candidacy, he says that his main policies would be cutting admissions by giving everybody free bus travel
Yeah.
and levying higher taxes on the super rich. There's not that many of them in Scotland, to be fair.
Yeah. To be honest with you, if I could have something extra free, I would like it if it was the rail journeys that were free as well.
Aye, wouldn't we all, David? But
Yeah, because
one subsidy
yeah,
at a time.
imagine we've got a train station down here, right? And you want to get right into the centre of Glasgow, no bother at all. Is take the train from Singers or wherever, right, or Dalmuir, straight into Queen Street in Glasgow, and
Oh,
it's wonderful service, you know. And it's just a shame that we cannot have that free, you know.
oh, you know, excuse me, Charlie Cat's one to put in his
Yeah,
opinion.
it's all right. As long as he
You
doesn't
know how
show
he
up,
likes to get. You know how he likes to get in
doesn't
the
show up
morning.
his one eye again. That's the main thing.
You know how he likes to get in the morning show. Well, you know he wants to get in the afternoon one now.
Yeah.
He's just having a wee sniff and a look at the notebook at the moment, folks.
Well, mine's are really, really miffed at me.
No, they don't want to see you. They want to see that,
No,
Charlie.
today, the gentlemen that are out there finishing my outside when
Uh-huh.
they're doing the decking, and we have to keep the cats inside. Oh, fuck's sake, man! Can you not get rid of that off the bloody screen, right? Uh,
That's when he'll turn round once I keep grabbing his tail. He just
and
can't help himself. Just
we might
get
have
in,
a grey,
get in the act, David. You know like he is.
yeah, we have a grey carpet, but we don't want dark grey paw prints all over.
Anyway, he's back up on the table now, so it's fine. He's happy. So and tackling emissions, giving people free bus travel, I think is a great idea. Trains would be better, David, but one subsidy at a time.
Yeah, I think it's got to happen in the future. It must happen in the future.
Aye, but buses at the moment they're cheaper to subsidise than trains.
Yeah, I
You know,
appreciate
at
that.
the moment.
But it's still, you understand, there's still a transportable cost, right?
Aye.
So well, I'm sure that minds that are important could start to put thought to making the short journeys on the trains free of charge.
I'm getting told off by the moderators if they get Charlie's arse off the screen. Sorry, Stephen. Cats have got a mind of their own. I'm just learning that myself.
Oh,
Well, I know. I think it's a good. I think Ross would make a really great leader of the Greens. I really
yes. In actual fact,
do.
it's like if John Swinney keeps on blooming falling flat in his face, it's like let's
Aye,
swap,
Ross join the SNP. Ross, oh yeah.
we'll swap one of the Greens and Ross can be the leader of that. I have the vote to be able to do it, you know.
Anyway, he told BBC Scotland at his announcement that he'd prioritise cutting emissions and the cost of living crisis. Hey, he doesn't have any power to deal with the cost of living crisis, unfortunately. But there is priorities, apparently. Now, the way the Green Party do things, David, is one of the most democratic things you and I
Yeah, yeah.
They re-elect leaders every 2 years.
Yeah.
Or they elect leaders every 2 years. And at least one of them's going to be female.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
Yeah.
So you get a balanced act all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got the male and female perspectives. I quite like that. I like that notion.
I like that notion as well. But be careful because we're both turning ourselves out of the SNP. and I've just painted my man cave bright yellow.
Oh, I know. Aye, the SNP logo's going up next week.
The wife reckons it's good grounds for a divorce. There you go.
Now, David, you're giving fuel to the fire of people who think we're a pair of SNP cultists. They've obviously not been listening the way we were tearing John a new one. But we are party members, and it is the Democratic Party, and we're allowed to have our points of view.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
let's move on, shall we? There's problems in North Sea, David.
Yes.
It would appear that instability through and unstable policy making in Westminster over the last 5 or 6 years means that the oil companies are missing the deadline to plug 500 decommissioned wells.
Yeah.
Now, it's getting so serious that the NSTA, and that is the North Sea Transition Authority, is thinking about fining these companies. Right.
The one thing I want to just inject into that before you carry on, right?
Right.
Is that there's a bit of a debacle over this. I mean, I think even back as far as 2014, when they brought this thing about the UK paying for part of the decommission costs.
Oh, aye.
Yeah, and everybody going, wait a minute, hang on. These people have made money
David, sit
off
back,
of,
you're off the screen.
these people have made money off of that. And we, the taxpayer, having to blooming stump up the money for their job.
Remember, that was one of your arguments in 2013. We couldn't afford the decommissioning, so we couldn't be independent.
But yeah, I know. But also, we've got the situation whereby we now know there's no such thing as fossil fuels because it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. These fuels are nothing to do with fossils. They come from minerals way, way deep in the earth, right? And they will not close up those wells properly. Reason they close them up because they fill up again.
No, but they can plug them, David, and let them fall up slowly. But you still need to breathe them. They need to be breathed.
Yeah.
But this is a big problem with the idea of carbon capture and all. They're talking about pumping into these wells.
Yeah, I know.
Can't do that because the liquid's going to come back and force all that gas back out again.
Carbon capture is a non-runner right from the start. Hey guys, if you get the point whereby you start to be convinced by the carbon capture argument, right? Properly research it, and you'll realise it doesn't work.
I think we've given them enough evidence on this programme for that alone, David.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, we might have given them a lot of evidence, but our politicians are still going, oh, yeah, we're carbon capture.
Money. We really need to call them out of this.
Yes, big style.
Absolutely. Anyway, Offshore Energy UK, which is the body that represents the oil companies, right?
Yeah.
They say that a unstable policy over the last 5 years for Westminster means that the people who are supposed to pay for plugging these wells are holding out their money because they don't know what the cost will be.
Yeah.
Now, the estimated cost of plugging these 500 wells is 41 billion. Now, according to the NSTA, the North Sea Transition Authority, if the deadline that's currently set is missed, that will go up again by 4 billion, and there will be a cost of that to the public purse. Now, you and I have tried to find out how much it is to the public purse.
Nobody can tell
we can't get a percentage number of our share, folks.
Yeah.
What we have been told, if they go bankrupt, we wear all the costs.
Yeah. Or 39 billion.
Aye.
39 billion. And the rest of the other companies, the Shell and all this, we'll share the cost of 2 billion. How's about that? Never going to stick it up you for buying this stuff in the first place. How's about that?
The only fossil fuels are us two old fogies.
Thank you, Peter. Are these yours?
I've got a pair like that for him and all. Oh, he takes that in good humour. But I know it's quite serious because there is a cost.
Yeah.
These people are responsible to plug these wells.
Yeah.
And they're just no fucking doing it.
Yeah.
And they're blaming it on UK government policy.
No,
It
it's
means they can't actually get a value to it.
no,
So they can pay for it.
also there was the cost of decommissioning the actual rigs themselves.
Now, aye.
Not just the wells, not just plugging the wells, but actually decommissioning the
David, when we look at the amount of licenses that have been issued over the same period, 5-year period, 500 licenses, they're going to need to plug 500 fucking holes in the ground or in the sea. 500 rigs are moving to 500 new licenses. They don't need decommission.
Yeah.
So what we have out there is a mobile fleet of drilling rigs.
Well, I reckon someday we're going to end up with huge holes, and the whole of the North Sea is just going to collapse in itself, and it'll create the biggest tsunami ever experienced by any country in the world.
Not that many holes in the ground, you. There's a big paper pot up there, but it's not going to drop. I can assure you.
We're the West Coast, so we're quite safe.
I heard that. Right, anyway, so apparently, folks, we're in for a huge cost.
Yeah.
And it's due to increase because the oil companies don't have any faith in the government, so they're hoarding their money rather than plugging these holes and get back in 25, 30 years and pump them out again.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. Ferguson Marine signs new contract to build sections of warships for BEA systems on the Clyde.
I hope that's not a bit with a propeller so it breaks.
And the reason why they've signed this contract is BEA systems have been using Ferguson Marine for fabricating, but more importantly, this ship that they're building needs to be out the door by next summer for sea trials, and it's nowhere near ready. BEA systems are behind schedule on these warships.
No, I've got a theory. I've got a theory in this. What's happened is that you can imagine them all going, "Oh, we've buggered up the woman, the propeller again. Quick, get Ferguson Marine the road."
Well, I have to say, BEA systems in Glasgow do have a record of fucking out faulty propeller shafts.
Yes.
If we look at the two aircraft carriers they've just
yes, the Prince of Wales and the Queen Elizabeth.
And one of them's up in a loch in the Highlands being cannibalised to keep the other one fucking gone.
That's right.
Unbelievable. But anyway, it's good news for the workforce at Ferguson Marine.
Yes. No, but the thing is, though, we hear all these complaints about Ferguson Marine all the time, and yet, billions were spent on these aircraft carriers, and they're both broken.
Aye, but David, the other thing with Ferguson
But right, we haven't seen the Scotsman, the Herald, all the rest of the Mail, the Express, all the rest of it, putting out stories about that.
Very fair point. If you're no following military dispatches, you wouldn't know about these things.
That's right. That's right.
David being in Clydebank and living next to that fucking big nuclear disaster that's used in the road, he's getting interested in these things.
Yeah.
But hey, it's good news for Ferguson Marine. But what people don't really know, David, and this is about what I was going to get, is that BEA systems have actually been using Ferguson Marine for fabricating jobs for a very, very long time, especially when they fall behind schedule.
Yeah.
This isn't a new thing. That was even before it went into government hands, that BEA systems would sub out fabrication to Ferguson Marine.
So let's look at this sensibly, right? Okay. When Sannox, you imagine, was getting up to the point where we're starting to pull in this and we're putting that and all the rest of it, right? There's only how many staff? There's 1,400 staff, is or something like that on at the Ferguson Marine Yard. Right. And then they get working from BA, and it's like they go, well, hang on, we're going to have to pull people off to do this, right? And then that gives the Herald, the Scotsman, all this, yet again, more power to go. I'll look at that. They're building the Glen. That's another 2 months we're going to have to wait for this. It's ridiculous.
Well, of course, as you know, the British government, well pointed out, David, is the one that's actually pulling them off their main work for the ferries because these warships have to hit the water at a certain time. We are being assured that they can do both.
Having said that, the British government also gave work to Fujitsu after they produced the Horizon contract,
Yep.
which dealt with other people that ended up committing suicide. The 13 people that ended up committing suicide as post office managers, right? At the end of the day, it's like that shows what the British government do. And is it a case of that?
Can you fabricate a propeller? Go to Ferguson Marine. Right, let's move on. Non-teaching staff in Scotland's education sector agree deal to avert strike action.
Yeah.
Now, this is the important stuff, folks. This is the stuff that goes on. COSLA and the trade unions have negotiated a settlement that everybody right across Scotland's councils can live with, and it averts any chance of disruption in the education system going forward for the next 2 years.
Yeah, it's not teachers, but it's all the ancillary support
staff, teaching assistants, janitorial staff, food, people who work in the kitchens, that sort of thing.
You can't run a school without it.
No, you can't. And anyway, they've accepted 4% for this year and 3.5% for next year. Now, Sharon Graham at Unite said it was a good deal, whereas the GIMP at the GMB said it was a bad deal, but 66% of the trade unionists balloted agreed to accept the deal. I think the GMB unions members have enough of fucking losing money going in daft strikes.
I think the phrase is, well, he would say something like that, wouldn't he?
Aye.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sharon Graham of Unite says it's a great deal and it gives staff in the sector a surety going forward.
Yes. Right.
Stability going forward.
A couple of years of stability until they start raising their heads again and go, we want our money. That's it. Yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, to be fair, in the public sector here in Scotland, the government sat down with their representatives and they've just put the cards on the table. No, to be fair, most of the public sector hasn't demanded too much. They've all demanded above inflation, which we all want, David.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they haven't demanded something that the public first couldn't bear.
Yeah.
And that's fair enough. And that's because when the department heads or the ministers go along and speak to these people, they just throw the fucking books on the table.
Yeah.
And remind them you've got all these different agencies to sort out.
Yeah.
And you can either say we sit down and work this out sensibly, or use in the other sectors can go to fucking war with each other or who gets the most. And to be fair, the public servants here in Scotland have been reasonably reasonable.
Yes. Reasonably reasonable. I'll write that down. That's an interesting one for my writing it somewhere. Reasonably reasonable. There you are.
Davey. But it is important because going forward, our little darlings and our grandchildren will not have any disruption in their education for the next 2 years.
Well, they might have no teachers, but at least they'll be able to go and get a school dinner.
Aye, that's true. And believe it or not, folks, that's actually a thing here. Yeah. When the school's shut, kids still show up for their dinners.
That's right.
They still run the breakfast clubs and the lunch clubs.
Yeah. And that's really important. Why is that really important? Come on, David, say the obvious.
It keeps kids out of poverty. It also means they're well equipped to learn.
And there is a wee story, a wee anecdote that I keep up my sleeve, which is I went to a main charity event in Glasgow. Stood talking to a lass who ran one of the children's charities, and she said, "Picture this." He said, she said, East End of Glasgow is a line of kids waiting for their dinners at the school dinner, right? It's a Friday afternoon, right? And a few of them have got their school bags with them. And you think, why have they got their school bags with them? and it's like the other kids are picking up wee trays or whatever and getting fed, right? Whereas the ones with the school bags, they're handing over the school bags for stuff to be put in, paper and all this stuff inside. The reason they're getting that is
Can we
so
spread
that
the hope?
somebody over the weekend, because the only time they were getting fed was at school.
Aye.
And
Aye,
that's
it's
still
great.
living there, and that is still there.
But
We're
that's
doing
why we
well.
do what we do with this channel's money.
We're doing well. We're doing well as a country in terms of poverty, and we're working hard to work against it. Right, keep poverty down. Right, the red Tories are doing their hardest to make poverty go up the way, but we are trying to mitigate it and get it down the way. Right, but still, there's lots and lots and lots of work to do. It's time for independence, independence, independence. Let's get it done.
Lovely. David, you've not quite got the rant done yet, but you're getting there. I think you maybe want to leave the rant to me. But no, very passionate and quite correct. They're saying it's why what we do with this channel and the money that's raised for this channel, the money that's made for this channel, because we understand, as well as the government here in Scotland understanding, that the best way to build a good economy is to have happy, healthy, well-fed people who can be educated
Yeah.
because they're no stressed about being hungry, and who can then go into a skilled workforce, because a skilled workforce is what you need for a healthy economy. And thanks to you guys here, we help make that happen for this nation.
Of course we do. Of course you do.
You
No,
do.
we do. You do. Right.
Right, let's move on. Let's do a bit of popular culture at the end of the Scotland section, shall we? Kneecap have a pop at John Swinney at gig in Glasgow. The Kneecap were due to play the King Tut stage transmit on Friday, but after a couple of videos had been released, John Swinney says, I don't think these people should be platformed. Now, the BBC, this is important, David. In the BBC article on this, it said John Swinney doesn't think they should be given airtime because of a Hezbollah flag. But that isn't it. That's a bloody lie. The reason why John took offence to what Kneecap was doing was one of their members, it's a trio, remember, it's a rap group. Is it Char something? Mo Char. He appeared in the video telling people to kill their MP, kill their politicians.
Yeah.
That's not on.
Which has happened, and therefore it becomes a credible threat, if you like, if it's carried on throughout the population. Some idiot somewhere will go, "Oh, that's a good idea."
I mean, unlike that boy, Bob Villan, who was shouting death to an organisation, meaning the IDF, this guy was calling for the death of people.
Yes.
Because MPs are people, they're no an organisation. Unless they're in the party format, but to be honest, he wasn't calling for a death to the Labour Party. He wasn't calling for a death to the Tory Party or death to the SNP as a party. What he was calling for was the death of politicians. And I don't know about you folks, and I quite like them actually, but I don't know about you folks, it's just not tasteful.
How many bowls of Buckfast was he had he drunk that day?
I have absolutely no idea. They're having a pop at John because John's frightened for the safety of politicians. He is a fucking politician. Of course he's frightened for the safety of politicians. And we've seen the sort of crap the SNP politicians have taken over the years. Mary Black stood down because of it. She wanted her life back. She was threatened left, right and centre. Yeah. So should these people be platformed? Freedom of speech is such a thing? Yes, the answer is yes.
But freedom of speech carries consequences.
Responsibility.
Yeah.
And You don't hear this daft git say shoot them. You'd never hear that from me. Because you have heard that from him, you've not heard that from me. I might have said a couple of occasions, I'm thinking about getting togged up and going and sort this out, but I would never say I'd never say shoot them.
The best thing that could possibly happen is Westminster to be emptied and P45s given en masse. There you go.
Rebuilding the system is definitely important. And one of the reasons why it's important is the next subject, folks. Reform MP James McMurdoch quits Reform over dodgy COVID loans. Now, this was a Times investigation, I believe. Now, James McMurdoch had two dormant companies registered at Company House in London and managed to animate them and get £70,000 worth of loans from the UK government, which meant the two businesses between them needed a turnover of over £200,000 to be able to get that money, and they had nothing. Yeah. He is also under a criminal investigation for no filing accounts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, you and I have,
right. This is why that place needs shut down the start of the game.
David, you and I have discussed this, right? I had a bounce back loan at the time, right? Didn't know what was going to happen in the future, so what you're entitled to do is take up to 25% of your turnover, your yearly turnover, right? Fine, okay. But also you jump through lots of hoops. You've got to make sure the company's up and trading. It's been trading for so many years, all the rest of it, right? And providing you do all that, then you apply for the bounce back loan, and the people that back up that loan. So it's not just you; it's the UK government, i.e., the people, right?
The taxpayer.
And okay, I got it, but then I started to realise, hang on a second, there's lots of companies down in England. I didn't know of any in Scotland, but down in England, whereby, like this one, there were shelf companies.
No, shelf companies, eh?
How do you do that as a shelf company? As far as I'm concerned, there had to be inside information.
I have two companies registered at Company House. As you know, I've been a small businessman like yourself.
Yeah.
I've got registered at Company House in Edinburgh, right? Yeah. Now, you and I discussed this at the time, and I says, fuck, I wish they were still active. I'd get a bounce back.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think...
And every time you hear stories of companies doing south who were getting bounce back loans who were shell companies.
It's only an opinion. There's only an opinion. But I think the only way that this could have happened was through somebody inside the banking system was actually helping them.
Because these were shell companies.
That's
they never submitted any books or fuck all. How did they manage to get this money?
The banks had very, very strict instructions.
Thanks, Mr. E.
So, and definitely in Scotland, I do know, thank you, Mr. E. In Scotland, I definitely do know that we had to jump through hoops for it. Definitely.
I remember you and I were talking about it at the time when you were going through it.
Yeah.
No, you supply 5 years accounts and all that sort of thing, I think you said at the time.
Yeah.
How did these guys in England manage to do it? Obviously, inside job.
3 years accounts.
You need to look at who it was that was doing the due diligence on the companies that were applying for these loans.
Yeah.
And you need to find out whether affiliation with this particular person.
The most important thing is who actually dealt with the loan, because the main underwriter at the end of the day is the UK government, but there had to be an underwriter within the banking industry or the banking sector for that company, be it Virgin or whatever, right? To actually say, well, yeah, fine, that's fine, put it through.
Aye. Again, you lovely people, a new video by that Larry chap is in completion by us and should be posted soon at the Two Davies. Larry, that roast you did to me was fucking brilliant, mate.
Hey, no, but the one thing that got me is you with an English accent. It
Aye.
totally failed me. It didn't work. It didn't work.
Well, it was a sort of mix of South African and Scottish accent, but
It's
I did come out
like,
in English at places
like
as well.
last night there was an argument with the daughter, right,
Aye,
about saying the word butter, right? I say butter, right? She
aye.
says bah,
Oh,
right?
aye,
Okay,
that's what I
you say bah, right? But I mean, to hear you saying butter would be totally awful. It really would, dreadful.
butter. There you go. No, but Larry, that was some roast, mate. Thanks very much. I really enjoyed it. I really did. Made my day yesterday.
Right, so
Anyway, also ex-Tory chairman Jake
yes,
Berry joins Reform UK.
that's right. Yep. He was the former Conservative chairman under Liz Truss. Do you remember her?
Aye.
Yeah. Yeah. Cauliflower. No. Lettuce. Liz Truss is the latest to jump ship to reform and the latest blow to the Tories, making him the second ex-cabinet minister to do so within a week. Writing in an op-ed in The Sun, Berry claimed the only way to have a country we can be proud of again is through a reform government. For fuck's sake.
How
This,
low do you go?
yeah, this is Nazis. This is Nazi times. So,
Celebrate, David. You're
spring,
fucking out
this
again.
is a song, Springtime for Hitler and Germany. They're not going to be singing that down the road.
Big
Right,
time for fascists in London.
he wrote, if you're deliberately trying to wreck the country, you'd be hard pressed to do a better job than the last 2 decades of Labour and Tory rule.
Well,
Well,
that reminds me of that headline
I
this
argue with
morning.
that. I can't argue with that. But at the same time, to jump ship, to go from the frying pan into the fire, is a bit silly. Don't you agree?
Well, the fire's burning wildly at the moment, but it will dampen down because they've paralysed 12 councils. They're losing MPs, there's only 3 of them fucking left. I think reforms days and the sunlight will be coming to an end shortly as their incompetence shows in governance, David.
Yeah,
I mean,
Berry
Gordon
just,
C. Anderson, Richard Dyson, Nigel Farage, they make themselves look like fucking idiots every time they
you know,
talk to Parliament.
just adding a wee extra information. Berry's the second former cabinet minister in a week to join reform after ex-Welsh Secretary David Jones recently announced he had enrolled as a member.
That's not true. None of them enrolled as members.
Well,
They became subscribers. It's
yeah.
not a political party, remember. It's a PLC.
The other former Conservatives who have joined reform include Marco Longhi, Anne Marie Morris, Ross Thompson, Aidan Burnley, Andrea Jenkins, and now the mayor of Greater Lancashire.
Lovely. Yeah.
How wonderful.
Anyway, that'll be the mayor of Greater Lincolnshire Council, which is now a fucking disaster.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
they managed to paralyse all 12 of the councils that are in charge of doing in England. Then they got Scooby with their Dane.
That's right. That's right. And you have got the situation where possibly an awful lot of these councils could go boing, boing, as their economies implode.
Aye.
You know.
Anyway, talking about imploding economies, we better move on.
Yes.
1.6 million children and families hit by two-child benefit cap,
Yeah.
and the amount of families who are now being hit by this cap went up by 13,000 in the past year,
Right. That's right. Last
up
past year.
3%.
That's right.
And the total amount of households which have been impacted by the two-child benefit cap is 463,600.
No, 469,790. Right.
About
Uh,
1.6 million children folk affected by the two-child benefit cap.
yeah. The Those are the households claiming universal credit were affected by a two-child limit policy in April this year, which represents a 3% increase in the last 12 months.
That's correct.
Well,
Start
that's
month.
that's an awful indictment, really is, right?
It's an awful indictment of the new government doing that. Road.
Yeah, that's right.
1 year in, and they've stuck another 250,000 children into poverty.
Yeah,
That's just not what people, that's what they were like to do.
yeah.
That is not what they were like.
Tom Pollard, head of social policy at the New Economics Foundation, has described the policy as a child poverty machine, which has cost us all more in the long term, as he
Now, David,
called the UK government to get rid of the cap.
How much would it cost to get rid of the two-child benefit cap per annum?
$2 billion?
$2 billion.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, Kirsty Blackman, the SNP's calling on them to scrap a two-child benefit cap and a bedroom cap.
Yeah.
The bedroom tax down that road. Now, how much do you think it would cost to scrap both, David?
Well, it was working out as £27.15 per child per week.
Which is roughly the child uplift in Scotland, roughly
Yeah.
around about that.
That's
But
right.
to scrap both, because there's exemptions to the bedroom tax, right?
Yeah.
So to scrap both the child tax and the bedroom tax, only 2.4 billion a year.
Yeah. But
So you think about it, bedroom tax down that road's only bringing in 400 million a year.
yeah, the exemption tax, the exemption against the two-child cap, effectively is if a woman has been raped.
Aye, the rape clause, everybody knows about it. It's quite famous.
It's an awful thing. It really is.
Another thing they should have fucking get rid of, is that rape clause. That's disgusting.
Yeah, that is disgusting.
You know, if you need money for your third child, you're going to have to go and say it was conceived by a rape. Some sick fucking puppies in Westminster.
How to demean people in one easy blooming lesson, really.
I mean, there are some sick puppies in that legislature.
Yeah.
Some real sick puppies.
Rachel D'Souza, the Children's Commissioner for England, detailed how children are going without food and proper hygiene whilst living in cramped conditions. A report, which was commissioned by the UK government, drew on the experiences of 128 children across England between January and March this year. Speaking to the BBC Breakfast, she said she had been the Children's Commissioner for England for 4 years, but was shocked by how much worse things have got. And what she means by that is got recently.
Well, it was interesting because we were talking with Christy Blackman, and she made it quite clear in her commentary on this that Scotland was the only place who was starting to lift children out of poverty.
Yeah, that's right. We are doing stuff. We are making moves and that. But we keep having.
I think people quite realise how wide it is, but I mean,
Yeah,
families in Fife and in your area, David.
Yeah.
Scrap Bridgestone saved you as a family £400 a year.
Yeah, I mean, but you've got to look at it from this point of view. The Scottish government keeps on having to mitigate
Aye,
for what the Westminster are doing.
aye.
How stupid is that? How stupid is it that we have got a system that we voted for? We
No, we
didn't
didn't.
realise
We
this was
voted for home rule, and they told us what it was after the vote.
That's right, absolutely. Time for
Truth, David, we didn't vote for it.
Time for independence, independence, independence.
You're getting good at wiring that one in, big boy. I'm glad to see you're getting your passion back. Right, let's move on. Energy Minister Ed Balls throws out OVO and Octopus Energies and Scottish Southern Electric's idea of regional zoning.
Ed Ball's a bit of a prick in my my estimation anyway, right?
Aye.
Okay. As a leader of Labour at the time, 2014, he gladly came up the road with David Cameron and the other guy. I keep forgetting his name. The idiot that called us all extremists. What's it called?
David,
Nigel.
shut up. You're out of speed.
Oh, the Lib Dem leader at the time.
Davey.
No, no. Come on, guys, help me. Who was a leader of the Lib Dems at the time of the
Was it Charles
2014
Kennedy? I
referendum?
don't think so. It was Charles
No,
Kennedy.
no, 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 no. Anyway, right. So Ed Ball's come up the road, right? And between him, the other guy, and I'm going to see if we've got this thing. Basically
You mean
they
it's two amigos that come up the
broke,
road?
broke Porter rules
Aye.
to make people vote the other way, and it's cost us as a country, as a group of people who inhabit this country, so bloody much. And people were stupid enough to vote no at the time. They paid for it, and I
Nick
hope they
Clegg,
pay.
wait, it's popped up. Nick Clegg, was it? I think.
Nick Clegg, wonderful.
Well, of
Nick
course,
Clegg,
the guy that's causing all the trouble for us on fucking Facebook, Nick Clegg.
yes, that's right. And also, Mr. Clegg is a guy that branded us all as extremists.
Yes.
If you're a yes campaigner, you are an extremist. You are a fucking terrorist.
Well, no, extremist and terrorist is different. If you remember right, though, Michael Gove then went on to rewrite the definition of extremist in the UK to make us extremists.
Yes, that's right.
So remember, folks, we're all extremists. And
Right.
that's why, of course, the indie grannies made me the Scottish extremist.
Now, David supports Palestine Action. This guy's a 14-year sentence for saying such a thing, right? But at the end of the day, it's like if we don't stick our heads out the parapet now, it'll end up whereby people of Scotland who vote for or support independence will themselves
End up with
end up
Palestine
not
Action.
as just extremists, they'll end up as terrorist groups, terrorists on the Home Office list.
And that, dear boy, was a brilliant way to segue us into the next segment.
I knew that.
I know. That's why I keep telling you your cognitive abilities are getting better. After all, you did have a stroke. But anyway, brutality over Palestine activists poached Scotland violently.
Oh, he's frozen up. Right, okay. Basically, Police Scotland accused of injuring 63-year-old Palestine activist. A lady that maybe some of you may know was called Lindsay.
Gaza Genocide Emergency Committee here in Scotland. They
Sorry,
arranged the protest.
sorry, David, you're now on the other side.
Oh,
You
did we
broke
drop
off.
off?
Yes, you dropped off. Yes.
Well, I can't fix it in the middle of a program, David, so we'll just
It's
leave it
all
that
right.
way.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Don't panic.
I know your OCD makes you a wee bit freaky about it, but that's
I
all right.
told them all a dirty joke. They all got it. So don't worry about it. Right. Yeah.
Telling a dirty joke. Wesley, stand behind you. She slap you in the lug, you spanner. Anyway, let's get back to it. Lindsay Murray, 63, was at a protest at the Centre for Glasgow Centre for Cultural Art, and she was on a Gaza Genocide Emergency Committee organised event when police wrestled her to the ground.
No, she was
To which
brought.
she received
No. Inverted commas. She was brought to the ground by unnecessarily to the ground. Sorry, she was brought unnecessarily to the ground and sustained debilitating injuries that required hospital treatment.
no, give it the way round where we don't infringe on anybody's copyright, you spanner. All right, get this in your read. You can't read off your phone, you're infringing copyright.
Right.
All right. Anyway, police wrestled her to the ground, to which she received debilitating injuries, which ended up with 2 weeks in hospital.
Right. So it wasn't just a cut finger. It was,
No.
it was 2 weeks in hospital.
Partly, when the police eventually, because we know ambulance Scotland said they've no record of being transporting an ambulance to the hospital. So when the police took her from the police station, because we know they took her to a police station, to the hospital, when they got there, apparently the woman couldn't walk because of her injuries.
Right. Well, she couldn't walk. She couldn't
Then
get in the
went
back.
2 weeks to the hospital.
Yeah, she couldn't get in the back of the police vehicle.
The interesting thing about that is, David, I think I know Lindsay Murray.
Yeah. Right.
I do, and an activist in many ways.
You know, it's just not. It's not like a 24-year-old fit lass that's blooming going around and gives a right punch to a few policemen and all the rest of it, right? We're talking a 63-year-old lady
When
that
I
was
own a
wrestled
peaceful
down,
protest,
wrestling the ground by young, fit, blooming police Scotland police officers. And that wouldn't have
no,
been
I'm
just
right.
one, it would have been a few, right?
But it's horrifying that the police brutality is keeping into Scotland because the law is made in England.
Yes. This needs some embarrassing questions asked
Ah,
of
of the
those.
police commissioner here.
Yeah, that's right.
Some
He
really
needs,
embarrassing questions.
he needs to answer these questions. Why were your officers doing such a thing to a 63-year-old lady peacefully protesting?
Aye. So, folks, that brutality that we've seen in England towards pro-Palestine activists has now arrived in Scotland. That's
That's
the
right.
point of highlighting this.
Dreadful.
That is
That's
the point of highlighting this.
embarrassing and hugely embarrassing to somebody that loves
Very
Scotland.
embarrassing. But more importantly, the idea that the cross contamination is making it out of that border because the rules being sent in the Home Office
Yes.
is fucking scary.
Time for.
Hey, let's move on. David Lammy's wrapped up in another fucking scandal, David.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, he hands taxpayer funded Foreign Office job to Labour donor. And it
Aye.
wasn't just a Labour donor, it's one of his pals that he helped set up something called Black. What is it called again? Forget the name of the
The
charity.
Black Equity Organisation, a charity.
Organisation. Yes, that's right.
Now that sounds a bit dodgy in itself, doesn't it? Black
That's right.
Equity, dark money.
The amount
Dark
she
money.
gave, the amount she gave to Lamy was
£5,000.
£5,000. Now,
The
for
Joseph
that
Earners,
£5,000, someone that gets brought on board as a non-executive director for the Foreign Office gets somewhere between 15 to 20,000 pounds for 20 days' work. So that 5,000, that's a good deal. That's a real good deal.
bet you do, Cassie. I bet you love this shot. You fucking sent it to me.
I couldn't see the next Aussie. I thought it was 112, showing his age
Aye.
again.
But hey, Lammy, so you, as Maximilian Robespierre, a lot of the audience here will watch Max, as he always says, you know, if you want to get ahead in life, go to your bank manager and tell him you want to make a donation to a political party, because generally the returns are fucking tenfold. So
Yes.
the bank manager will lend you money. So, folks, if you want to get rich in the future, go to your bank manager, borrow £5,000, go on to your local Labour MP and donate it to him.
Yeah. No, make sure no. It's not just a Labour MP. It has to be somebody on the cabinet office.
Oh no, listen, when we talk about continuity government, this is what happened with the Tories.
Yeah.
They put all their cronies in all the positions that they wanted them in.
Yeah.
Get them all jobs.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about continuity government, it's not just the cruel austerity that's continued. It's also the crooked fucking ways that they operate that's continued. Nothing at all has changed. Labour for change. Aye, change you into an even poorer fucking mug. Which just reminds me of the false headline in the Daily Mail today about What does they pay on the labour? Because if you're on full disability benefits, you're £2,500 a year better, right? £2,500 a year better off than those
Yeah, I
who are
listened,
on minimum wage.
listened to Nick Ferrari this morning on LBC, and
You were
he was flabbergasted. In fact, his flabber has never been so gasted in all the born days, right? So, and he was saying, "Oh, that's dreadful. These people are sitting on their arses getting £2,500 more per year than someone just on benefits. That's ridiculous. Or on minimum wage, sorry, minimum wage, right?
Yes,
And
you got to remember, wait a minute, Dave, let me answer this one. Is Swinney not saying he's all about good governance and he's allowing the police to act like fascists, SS goons? To be fair, the ultimate place that Police Scotland answers to, although they do answer to the Scottish Government, the ultimate place they all answer to is Yvette Cooper in the Home Office.
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry,
right, we're back on to where we were.
yeah,
And that's Lammy and his crooked shit.
yeah. I've lost my train of thought now. Sorry about that, David.
So, David, I'm sorry, I wanted to
Yeah,
address that one because
yeah,
you got to realise that although Police Scotland do answer to the Scottish Parliament, their ultimate rule comes from the Home Office and
yeah.
Yvette Cooper. And people have to understand that, David. It was important to interject there.
Well, okay. I mean,
Because
Chris
if
is
people think that the ultimate
generally on the ball. Chris is generally on the ball. It's Chris
right,
Fisher you're responding to, and he's generally on the ball anyway. So,
but
but
although he's generally on the ball, it would appear he didn't know that because he wouldn't make that statement.
yeah, sorry, there's my train of thought back again. Right.
Right,
So
good.
Nick Ferrari was wanting to he was flabbergasted about these people earning £2,500 more than somebody on minimum wage, right? And as someone kindly pointed out, wait a minute, it's called PIP, personal independence payment. These are people that are sick, disabled for whatever reason, right? They might be able to do a job of work, but they've got additional costs involved because of their disability. And that those additional costs could be additional costs of certainly down in England, prescription drugs, 10 quid a pop these days. Wow, right? And then you've got a situation where there might be someone who has to say indoors. Okay, they might work for a call centre remotely and answer phone calls, but the place has got to be kept warm all the time. It's got to be kept at the same temperature all the time because of their particular disability, right? So when you start working out £2,500 a year, it doesn't actually go that far.
No, doesn't he? When the police swear on the Crown, do they know the Crown in Scotland is a people? Do the people know the Crown in Scotland is a people? Ice
Yeah,
Ninja, that's a better question.
much better question. Plus the fact, here's a good one that goes along with that one, right?
No, I want to go back to David Lammy and his crookedness
No,
because
no.
we've been having a tangent there that wasn't right.
No, just how dare you put that on without allowing me to tag on the back end of it, right?
Right,
Was,
okay, then go on.
was Prince Charles actually crowned in Scotland? I can't
That was
remember.
his fault. He also never taken the Scottish oath, so no, he's no on the Crown.
He's not.
Right, it's a 1658, David.
Yeah,
I hope you, and I can see your cat in the background. It's nice to see one of your cats waddling about in the background.
that's well.
Anyway,
He's an old
but
lady.
just so people know, Charlie Cat's in his usual spot, folks. Anyway, well, we need to round this up. Folks, thanks very much for your kind contributions.
Yes.
And they are making a massive difference. And very shortly, because I've ordered all the information, I'll be able to tell you all the organisations that you've helped done over the last 3 years that David and I have been broadcasting.
Yeah.
I think we were about 3-4 months in before we could monetize it, David.
Yeah. Don't. Yeah. You got to jump through hoops to even
But
think
yet,
about
what was that? To get 1,000 viewers to be able to monetize that thing.
Yeah, but also you have to have 4,000 hours of broadcast stuff that people watched or Only that much.
Well, we'd be forced. We'd up at
And then I had to deal,
21,000.
I had to deal with the American government over tax. I
The amount
did.
of people.
I had to actually
I
deal
know we
with
need to deal with it. I know, aye. But our watchers are no bad. They're 21,000 a month.
yeah.
That's watch hours. But our programmes are an hour long. But folks, thank you all for tuning in. Moderators, thanks for moderating. Mr. Milligan, thanks for spanning in twice. Independence, independence, independence. And thanks for being able to actually segue the right segments together this week. That helps. Because I was saying to Leslie before you came on air, I said, he's getting better, Leslie. I'll tell you what, though, I'm fucked off hearing about Egyptian plumbing.
Right. Guys, thanks.
David, I know that sometimes embarrasses you, but you got to remember we're all friends here, we're part of a community. We're watching you through a hard time. To see you recover, physically recover, as we watch you get back to your full cognitive abilities, that's a big issue. So, I know you get embarrassed about it being mentioned, but it is important because you've got thousands of people here watching your progress.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for being concerned. The most important piece of advice I can give people is cut sugar out of your life. Seriously.
Most important piece of advice I could give you is stop talking about fucking sugar. Say goodbye, we're off. Eyes on the prize, folks, and the prize is Hollywood 2026 SNP majority or a yes majority winner. Till they're okay.
Yes.
Have a nice day. Bye for now.
Nice, guys.